Tom Novi on 5FM, Like I'm Falling in Love. It's 9 minutes after 5. Welcome to The Fresh Drive. We're here until 7 this evening. Please give a big South African and 5FM Fresh Drive welcome to the legendary Mr. Nice Guy, Colin Greenwood.
Thank you.
Radiohead. How are you doing?
I'm good. I brought the rain with me all the way from England.
I think you brought a bit too much.
Yeah. And I left my raincoat in the hotel room. Can you believe it?
You know, when Catherine said you're going to be in town, interview or not,
yeah.
I was like, duh.
Yeah.
And then I spent the entire weekend crapping myself.
Yeah.
What am I going to ask him?
Yeah.
I hope I don't freeze up on air. You're the coolest guy ever.
I was feeling exactly the same, so that's fine.
I kind of feel like we're robbing your fans not being able to talk about the band.
Oh, but we can talk about that.
We can talk about the band, but you know, you're here for something.
That's right.
That you're passionate about.
That's right.
What brings you to South Africa?
What brings me to South Africa is the work that I've just started doing with a South African project called the Children's Radio Foundation.
Yes.
Which partners up with community radio stations around South Africa. There's about a dozen stations at the moment to train up and encourage young people to become reporters and radio presenters and bring stories out of their communities and share those stories with their communities and with the wider world through technology, with internet and SoundCloud and the website.
In fact, Catherine is also an ambassador. So how do you, who do you guys sleep with to get this gig?
That's a good question. Listen, they asked me that at Mutsi. One of the children said, what qualifications do you need for an ambassador?
Yes, exactly. I'm like, where do I start? Why did you choose to do it though, Colin?
Well, it's a friend of mine in Oxford. She's the UK chair of the charity running from Oxford, and she knew I had a real passion for radio, and three boys of my own under the age of 9.
Yes.
And you know, and it's a good fit with what I do, which is a musician. Just finished a world tour. You know, I love to meet people, I love to find out their stories, and you know, spending time with these children across the radio stations just been so fantastic.
What are you learning as you continue to teach about radio?
I'm learning that the more practice is a good thing. That's what I'm learning. And you know, the lack of nerves and these children's, you know, I sat in on a 3-day training session. So what the deal is, they have like there's 12 trainers from the different stations around South Africa, the radio stations. They all met in Cape Town beginning of last week for like a refresher session, and I took part of that over 3 days.
Yeah.
I joined them for 3 days. So I was learning how to make interviews, like audio profile, talking to Vox Pop, you know, all the different ways of setting up an interview and making great talk radio. And then they go back to their communities and to their radio stations, and they share the knowledge with those children and make those great programs.
Now, you're always obviously the star, you know, being the subject of interviews. What is it about radio that you might have taken for granted before you became an ambassador?
Well, obviously what you're trying to say is radio's a lot harder than it looks.
Yes, indeed.
And of course it is. No, but you're right. The big thing, when we were talking about how time consuming it is, these kids putting these shows together.
Yes.
They spend all week. They may decide what topic, like in Mutsi community, Mutsi FM I've just come from, they were like, talked about disability in their community last week. And this week they're doing a topic on which of their villages and townships is most rocking.
Yes.
So that, you know, so they're going to like interview like people who are like in these 4 villages and find out where all the fun things are happening and stuff. So they do that, they plan it, then they go and they send the kids out to sort of make the stories. They come back, they put it onto the station computer, they rehearse it, and then they broadcast it live on the Saturday morning, and it's just fantastic.
Now, you and your bandmates, you know, are known for your, I guess, independent, free-thinking spirit. Are you carrying that with you as you're teaching these kids? Are you encouraging that?
Well, it's the curiosity, I suppose. It's the thing. These kids, they want to find out what's going on. They're not afraid to ask. They're going to ask you. And then, because what's the great thing about radio and what they're doing, because they ask the questions, then they tell you what they think. So they're not only just finding out stuff, they're also giving you their opinion. And it's really interesting because for a lot of them, when we were talking to some of these kids within their communities, you know, their elders and sort of their parents and older relatives and stuff, they're quite sort of surprised and taken aback by the fact that these kids...
In fact, I was going to say, how important is it that we give kids the kind of voice we're giving them right now? with this project you're working on?
Well, I think it's just so important because it's a future generation of the country, and and that curiosity and that confidence and that self-confidence,
yes,
and that intelligence as well, and that passion as well. They're all brilliant qualities that every country needs.
In fact, Catherine was talking about some of the workshops she did, I think, in Witbank.
I basically did exactly what Colin has done, and
yes,
so I've been reading his blog, and it's amazing that all of the same experiences he's had, I had.
Yes.
And how all of these children just completely blossom as you start from the beginning.
You see
to
a
the
huge
end.
difference from day one.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And all of their different topics that they actually want to discuss is so amazing.
For example, can I just say a quick example?
Yes, yes.
So we were at Voltaire FM, which is in town, and there was a group of about 9-10 children, and there was this girl there. She was like 11 years old, and it was her first day at the station. And they were going to do an interview, where they were asking me questions about where I'd come from and stuff.
Yes.
And she'd never done it before. And it was, like I say, her first day working with the young reporters. And all the other children shared their experience and knowledge, and they gave her the questions. And then she conducted the interview with me, like, totally fearlessly.
Wow.
And I've done a ton of interviews for 20 years around the world.
Yes.
With people holding Knocks on a Monster with a shaking notepad. I mean, she didn't know who I was, obviously, from Adam, really. But,
yes,
the fact was that she's like, yeah, I can do that,
And she went ahead and did it.
Yeah.
It's 15 minutes after 5. We're hanging out with Colin Greenwood of Radiohead. He's the Global Ambassador of Children's Radio Foundation. We'll continue chatting and also talk music.
That's great. Thanks, Fresh.
Talk life.
Lovely.
Talk poetry.
Yes.
How fast can you write a poem?
How fast?
Yes.
I did English at college, but that's no qualification for writing a poem.
Radiohead on 5FM. That was Lotus Flower. It's 19 minutes after 5. We are hanging out with the legendary Colin Greenwood.
Yes, hello. Here I am, still here. And I'd just like to say a couple of things. Sorry, I was explaining. Before we start talking about a bit about the music side of my life, if anyone, I'd love it if everyone out there could check out Children's Radio Foundation on Facebook. And also you can check out the blog that we're writing at the moment, which is www.crf.waste.uk.com. And as I said, the Facebook one is just look up Children's Radio Foundation.
Now, as Global Ambassador of the Children's Radio Foundation, what are you hoping to achieve? I mean, how are you hoping to use your celebrity, to amplify, what they're doing already?
I think it's like, it's as much as what I do with Radiohead, really, which is like just sharing, the passion and enthusiasm of the stories that I'm finding that these children are making. And, and it's a universal thing. They're happy tales, sad tales, and I think it's really compelling. And the actual stories these kids are making that they're putting up on SoundCloud, and on the Children's Radio Foundation site and Vimeo site, they're as good as anything you see on like national broadcasting organisations.
So, in a nutshell, this project is giving a voice to young
kids,
people,
to children. People. That's right, in their communities, and also wider, and feel that they have a voice beyond those communities too. So it's brilliant. It's both.
How are the adults treating this project? Have you met any? Did you get any feedback from them?
Some parents are very supportive, and one girl who the other children called Jesus because she was a member of this very very passionate gospel church on Sundays. She was saying that when she went now since she's been working with the Radio Foundation and with the community radio in Mudse, this young girl, she said that the elders in the church and the people, they listen to what she has to say and her opinions on subjects and things because she's got this experience and they've heard her voice on the radio. Because it's another thing that they do, which is great, is that they rotate all the roles within the team. So you have like 11, 12 young people and children, and they take it in turns, 2 presenters, group of producer researchers, and it's fantastic.
Roxy says, how do we get involved with this children's radio? I'm a lawyer and I'm taking a year off corporate life. I'd love to help. How do people get involved?
Well, probably the easiest way is to get in contact through Facebook, Children's Radiohead Foundation. I keep saying that. Children's Radio Foundation. Children's Radio Foundation through Facebook. If you go through there, then you can find contacts. And there's also the official website, which is, again, just look up Children's Radio Foundation.
Yeah. Doug says, can't we maybe hold him hostage until the rest of the band arrive?
And that will lead into the next question.
And then we have a concert. In fact, someone else on Twitter says you spoke about a world tour.
Yeah.
And that is not a world tour until you come to Africa.
I agree completely. Absolutely.
How do you guys decide which territories to go to?
Well, it's like, it's not like going to the travel agents where you get presented with a bunch of brochures, but it's like, but it's just what works with where we are with recording, writing songs, and, and last year we started our tour in Miami and we ended up in Melbourne. So we started February Miami, and November Melbourne, and went into Japan and Europe and a bunch of other places, and we had a really good time. We had a really good experience of touring, and when I come back from South Africa and I see the guys, we're taking some time out. I'm just going to say, listen, guys, we've got to come down here and check it out because they're going to have such a blast.
You're known to have said that a guitar is more responsive than a computer.
A guitar is more responsive than a computer.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's because I'm just not very good at computers.
My question is,
yes, sir.
What's more responsive, a woman or a guitar?
Oh, God. I'm trying to think about which one I've had more experience with, and I'd probably, sadly, be the guitar. So there you go. The answer is, from my experience, probably the guitar, sadly.
But what was it about guitar that said, listen, that's where you're going, bro?
Well, you know what? It was a teacher I had, when I was 11, and we were in school together. My band, that's the other thing that I love about working with the Children's Radio Foundation is meeting these kids. They're organising their time together. They're getting their stuff together. And that's what we did as a band. We got together when we were like 12, 13, 14 years old at school, and it wasn't at school, it wasn't with our parents, and we got together, we rehearsed in village halls, we organised ourselves as young people, and it's a very powerful thing to do. So a lot
of kids have dreams, such as the ones you probably did when you were 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, that's right.
But how do you sustain that? What kept you guys going?
Well, when I was a kid, I dreamt of being in a rock and roll band.
Yes.
So every night I used to go to sleep by dreaming, about being on stage, like, kicking out the jams. So, I think the thing is, what I love is like your friends that you work with, because like the radio stations of the kids, everyone's good at something and everyone's good at different things.
Yes, they must pull their weight and as a team.
And then sometimes someone's a bit sick or a bit tired or whatever, and someone else steps in, and that's how it works. And it's the same with bands.
Yeah.
When you make records, not everyone is on point, firing on all cylinders like every time round, but you support each other because everyone's got skills that come through.
25 minutes after 5, we're hanging out with Colin Greenwood, Radiohead's bass player. Should a band be a democracy?
Tom, the singer in our band, once said that Radiohead's like the United Nations and he's America. So let's answer your question there.
Is he?
Well, he's the main songwriter, and he's the lead singer. But I mean, we played together since we were 11. So
when bands change sound or change direction, who orchestrates that?
That's a good question. Well, it can be driven, it's taste, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you can try to explain, we met this band called the Blackjacks last night, and had a great night of music, listening to great old 70s South African music as well last night. It's brilliant. I'm getting back to your question, and it's taste, and it's like you say, I really love this like Giorgio Moroder disco track, and you say, my brother's in the band, he's never heard it before. He said, what do you mean? And I go, well, it goes like this, and you go, do, and he plays it, and it's his idea, and then it becomes something else. So it's like taste is really, and passion and curiosity, that's really important, and different, and it's that mashup when people are into different stuff, and that's when the magic happens.
And then, do you do this hoping for new fans, or hoping that your current fans will take the direction with you? Because diehard fans, they're a difficult bunch to please.
Well, it's a tough gig, isn't it? Because you don't want to make the same record, like we've already done the record with
diehard fans expect you to sound the same for 50 years.
For 50 years. Well, you know what bands like that are called, and this is not a criticism. They're called heritage acts.
Yes.
Because you're a fan. You don't want to go and hear the new record. You want to go and pay money to go and see them play. The classic second album.
Wow me.
Which is fine, totally cool. But I like to think we're more of a moving target. You know, there's stuff where we do which is like, oh, I don't know about this, I'm not sure, and then you play it a bunch of times, and then you know what I loved about last night meeting like local musicians as well is the fact that they were really into some of the rhythms and stuff.
Yeah.
For our Radiohead new records, you know, and that meant a lot to me. You know, the fact and being recognised on the street walking around Johannesburg.
How was that?
You know, it's so cool. We met this guy who's in a local band. I think he's called the band's called Fresh.
Okay.
Today, when we were down by the museum, in Newtown. You know, the museum and the theatre district thing.
Yes,
and,
yes.
It was fantastic, yeah, you know.
We're hanging out with Colin Greenwood. He's Radiohead bass player and global ambassador of Children's Radio Foundation. If you want to follow them on Twitter, you can follow them at CRF Projects or just look for the hashtag CRF. What's next for Colin?
Next, it's home and go and see the kids and have a real think about what I've experienced over the past couple of weeks and, you know, write it up and just carry on telling the story and finding out what's going on.
How's parenting? Anything
I've got 3 boys. I've got 3 boys under the age of 9, so I'm happy I'm sitting down right now.
What do you wish you'd been warned about raising 3 boys?
Well, a lack of sleep.
Yes.
And maybe I wish I'd be more into my sports. So that's it, really.
Okay, so cool dads into sport.
Yeah, I reckon, you know.
Yeah.
If I could kick a football a bit further, then I'd be a really cool dad, you know. They came to see us play a show in Paris at Bercy.
Yeah.
And just before they sat down in their seats at the beginning of the show, my oldest son, who's 9, said, "But I don't even like Radiohead." And like, you know, everyone round him was like, "What?"
In fact, that was my next question. Do they even understand how huge you are?
So they call what I do Daddy Band. That's what it's called, Daddy Band. And when I go and pick my kids up from school, all his friends, they were like, you know, 8, 9 years old, they all walk around me down the lane by the school making air guitars. And like, if you could see me in the studio, this is not great radio.
Yeah.
I'm like playing an air guitar here.
Air guitar,
so all these kids are like going, woo, and playing air guitar as I walk down the lane. So that's great.
Chances of you coming back to do a show here?
Absolutely, yeah. I'll go.
You
talk to the guys,
owe us that at the very least.
At the very least, you know, I would love to like do a bunch of shows and visit a bunch. Not just come in and play one big gig and disappear. It'd be great to like go and actually like check out some places.
We'd love that.
Yeah.
Website quickly. Radiohead website.
The Radiohead website is radiohead.com. It's nice and easy. You can also link through that to the blog that we've been doing, and as I said before, you can like us on Facebook. If you like us on, that would be fantastic. Children's Radio Foundation.
Your love for poetry. Tell us about that.
My love for poetry. Well, I studied English.
Yes.
And I studied a lot of poetry. That's right. And yeah, off the top of my head, oh my goodness me, that's a tough gig.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to recite one quickly.
Oh, good. That's good. Yeah, I love poetry. Yeah.
Would you say that helps?
I married a poet.
Oh, indeed, you did.
So there you go.
Would you say that helps you in the direction when you're writing? Or when you need to write?
I think it helps because you have to get to the point.
Yes.
You know, like with yourself, Reg,
yes,
you know,
yes.
Get to the point, you know, and a poem, it has to be like a sort of the thing itself. So it's got to be the word version in words of a tree. That's what you have to come up with.
Marrying a poet.
Yes. That's right.
She's never short of stuff to say to you, is she?
No, she's not. No, she's got a lot of notebooks.
And she can rephrase it a million different ways.
That's right. I'm never going to win that one, am I? Never win that one.
Listen, man, Colin, we've run out of time, unfortunately, but big up on your ambassadorship for Children's Radio Foundation.
Thank you,
People must go online and look for Children's Radio Foundation.
Brilliant.
It's been endorsed by politicians across the globe for giving kids a voice.
Yeah, it's a democratic campaign for me. That's what I love about it.
And that's why we love you for being a part of it.
And thank you for your time today. It's been brilliant, Fresh.
Only a pleasure.
Yes. Fresh.
So what happens next? Because you're part of this project.
Yes.
So what do you do next?
I'm hoping to do another training session brush aside. And I think that's the most important thing about Children's Radio Foundation.
And that makes great radio as well. Because they're speaking from the heart.
Exactly.
You know.
Thank you very much, guys. Colin, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your stay in South Africa.
Thank you.
And send our regards to the band.
I will do. Next time there'll be 4 other guys with me.
I was about to say, I want to hold you to that. Coming up next, news and sports with Poppy and Durrell.
I gotta get my head